Hello everyone! MES, Manufacturing Execution System Software. What kind of beast is that? If you've been with us for some time, you already know. But for those who are here for the first time, I'll briefly explain. To manage production processes, you can use many approaches, from loud command voices to multiple managers to piles of paperwork. Or you can use specialized software systems that not only help organize production, but also make it more efficient. That's exactly what MES, Manufacturing Execution System Software, is designed for. In the previous episodes, we reviewed functions such as managing participants in the production process, assigning roles and responsibilities, as well as working with databases, commercial and production operations, warehouses, logistics, and document management. In the last episode, I focused on assigning operations on the production line, including responsibility transfer, internal messaging, and other essential components for these tasks. One more important aspect is the use of additional software and peripheral devices by the operator. Let's take a look at how this is implemented in our system. And yes, if what you see on the screen looks unusual or surprising, just give it a moment and you'll understand what it's all for. I log into our system as the administrator, Bill, and go to Work, System Data, Users, Passwords and Access. Since our program can be used in various industries and I'm defining the use case myself, let's imagine the following scenario. We have a film studio with an animation department where there are 10 voice actors. The director needs to compare them and choose which actor is best suited to voice a particular character. Here, I've already added 2 actors to the system. If needed, I can later add more, up to 10 or however many are required, if these 2 don't fit the role. The first actor is named Brad Pitt, and the second is Angelina Jolie. Not to be confused with the Hollywood stars, any resemblance here is purely coincidental. Now we will assign them operations that include working with additional programs, what we call add-ons. So, I've opened the operation assignment. Let's say I nominate one of the workers to perform this task, or assignment, however you prefer to call it. We assume that our voice actors are creative individuals, independent, not very fond of strict discipline. They can log into the system and work on the task whenever they want. So my plan is simple. I prepare everything today, and by tomorrow evening I already have results. That's the idea. Let's begin. Since the task will be the same for all 10 voice actors, I only need to create the technical assignment once, and then I can duplicate it for all of them. I select the first actor, Brad. We already covered how to create operations in the previous episode. Last time we were producing stools, so the procedure is very similar. Now I'll fill out the operation, and after that we'll assign a computer application and add-on, which the operator, in this case the voice actor, will use to complete the task. So the operation has been created. I save it and operations assigned. Now, if the actors log into the system, assuming they have the same system installed on their computers, they will already see their assigned task. However, they still won't see the application they need to use to complete it. So now, let's assign that application. First, I go to Operation Add-Ons Assign and take a look at what applications are already installed and how this section looks. Here we mainly see examples of applications designed for technical tasks. Ambient Fixture Package Tester. From the name, it's clear that this application is used in lighting equipment manufacturing. Blue LED Bounding Score Tester. Again, from the name, we can assume that this is used for testing blue LEDs. Here we also see the information stored in the database for each application. Document number, number 2, add-on name, image dimensions with height, depth, creation date and time, and who created. Next we have Candela Chrome folder, something related to color characteristics. Candela Chrome sensor is also related to light perception. Candela Chrome likely part of a specific process. And Candela 7308 flicker measurement device, this appears to be related to measuring light flicker. CBCP stage of production lamp hot tester, this application is related to lamp production, most likely used for testing its characteristics. Digital waveform analyzer, as the name suggests, it's a digital signal analyzer. Digital waveform analyzer binary, similar functionality, likely a variation for binary operations. Force quiver software, we can assume this application is used to measure forces, possibly pressure related. Integration time and alarm duration tester, a tester for measuring integration time, saturation time, and alarm duration. MLED Micro-LED transfer station laser control is an application related to micro-LED transfer processes, specifically laser control. MLED transfer station stages control, also in the same domain, but here it seems more related to reporting or stage control within the process. Wafer reflectivity meter, this application measures wafer reflectivity. A wafer, as you know, is an epitaxial plate with a thin layer growing, for example, on a silicon substrate. But that's not our focus right now. Next, we have Laplanda generator, and this is exactly what we need. Let me quickly check if everything is set up correctly in the database. When we create or assign this application, the process is quite simple. In the Browse for Path to Execution field, we specify the folder where the program is located. Then, in Execution Startup, we enter the name of the executable file. Any additional details, for example, if the program requires a password or specific startup settings, can be entered in the Node ID field. We also specify the recommended monitor resolution for running the application. Now, where do we add all these programs as add-ons? This is done in Operations, Add-ons, Create or Delete. Now, let's say I want to add a new program to my add-ons list. I enter Laplanda Player into the field, enter add-on new record name. The system shows a message that such a record does not yet exist. That makes sense. I'm creating it right now. If it already existed, I would see an image and information from the database. But since it doesn't, I proceed with Create New Add-on Record. To display an image for this add-on, I need to upload it from my computer. For that, I use the field Browse for Path to Image to Assign. I copy the path where the image is stored. In my case, it's located in the installation files, and paste it into the field. Now the image appears along with the message "Record is ready to be placed." I confirm by clicking Place Record, yes. At this moment, a new add-on entry is created in the database. This image is simply a visual placeholder for the add-on. Next, I need to assign the path to the actual program, the executable file. For that, I go to Operations, Add-ons, Assign, select Laplanda Player, the application we just created, and in the Browse for Path to Execution field, I insert the path to the executable file of the Laplanda Player program. And automatically the name of the program appears in the Execution Startup field. Any node ID will also be displayed here if it exists. As we can see, all the information about the application stored in the database is shown on the left side in the table. So we've created the Laplanda Player application. Let's click Save. And yes, we've created the Laplanda Player application, but what we actually need is the Laplanda Generator application. So I switch to Laplanda Generator, specify the path to its executable file in the same way, and assign this application to Brad. The report will be sent to Alex. I click Save, and we see operations add-ons assigned. This means I've successfully created and assigned an operation for bread. While we are still in the operations section, I'll open operations tables, operations interaction. Here we can see all operation records, essentially a log of all actions performed with applications. Now that we've assigned the application to Brad, let's log in as Brad and see what he sees when he starts his day. We immediately see our application, the executable program. So Brad sees both the technical assignment and the application he needs to use to complete it. Let's take a look at what Bill prepared for Brad. Now imagine I am Brad. I see that my task is to record the soundtrack. I can see that the task was assigned by Bill and that it will be used for a character in an animated movie. I also see that I need to answer questions in the voice of the character in a free-form style. It's also indicated that this is a contract job, and the payment is $100 per phrase. That works for me. In the standard operating procedure, SOP, it also says, prepare your vocal cords and avoid drinking cold beverages and alcohol before recording. So I need to take care of my voice and follow those conditions. I also see that my work will be reviewed by Mr. Alex, and that this project is for the animated movie Beauty and the Beast Remake 2025. There is also an interesting requirement. I must be in a positive mood. If I'm not, I shouldn't perform the task and should come back later in a better state. And by the way, when creating an operation, it's very important to think through all these details for the operator. This is where the skill of a manager comes into play. As they say, a well-posed question already contains 90% of the answer. The same applies to tasks. The better they are defined, the better they are executed. In this case, the director decided that a positive mood is essential for the actor's performance. Well, I'm almost always in a good mood, so let's begin. What do we see here? We see the Lapa generator application. To complete the task, I need a microphone and headphones, and I have to record 10 phrases. I put on my headphones, open the sound settings in the program. To keep things simple, I asked ChatGPT to generate 10 questions and answers between Beauty and the Beast from the animated movie. I'm sure everyone knows this story, so let's get straight to the task. The first question I need to answer is, "Why are you being so rude?" The Beast responds, and I record, I'm not used to talking to people. Then I record several more variations of the same line with different intonations, because the algorithm allows me to record up to 10 versions. I'll explain why later. I'm not used to talking to people.
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 Next question is, do you want to have dinner with me? And the Beast answers, yes, please.
Yes, please.
You never told me how you became this. Oh, it's a long story, one I'm not proud of. I was selfish, arrogant, and blind to the needs of others. People feared me even before the curse, and I thought that made me strong. Then one night a stranger came to my door, cold and in need. I turned her away, disgusted by her appearance, only to discover she was an enchantress. She saw straight into my heart and knew it was filled with cruelty. As punishment, she transformed me into this beast. But it wasn't just a spell on my body, it was a mirror of who I truly was inside. She gave me a chance to change, but for the longest time I didn't believe I could. Now, with you here, I'm beginning to hope again.
Oh, it's a long story, one I'm not proud of. I was selfish, selfish, arrogant, and blind to the needs of others. People feared me even before the curse, and I thought that made me strong. Then one night a stranger came to my door, cold and in need. I turned her away, disgusted by her appearance, only to discover she was an enchantress. She saw straight into my heart and knew it was filled with cruelty. As punishment, she transformed me into this beast. But it wasn't just a spell on my body, it was a mirror of who I truly was inside. I didn't believe I could. Now, with you here, I'm beginning to hope again.
I made this dialogue a bit longer so I could demonstrate the settings adjustments. The rest of the phrases are shorter, similar to the previous ones. Next line. There is something sweet, almost kind. The beast responds, you think I'm kind?
You think I'm kind?
Would you like to read together? He answers, you'd do that with me?
You'd do that with me?
Next. You released me. Why? The beast responds, because I love you.
Because I love you.
Are you happy? I am when I'm with you.
I am when I'm with you.
You have to trust me. I do.
I do.
Come dance with me. I don't know how.
I don't know how.
And the final phrase, you are not a monster. And by the way, I don't quite remember whether my algorithm filters out non-alphanumeric characters in the string. This phrase will automatically become the file name. So for Windows to save it correctly, I may need to remove special characters. I won't experiment with that right now. I'll check it later. For now, I'll just leave it as is. Although, actually, why not test it now? Let's see what happens. So she says to him, "You're not a monster." And he replies, "Thank you for seeing that."
Thank you for seeing that.
So it turns out I saved it with an apostrophe. Let me check. Yes, it did save with the apostrophe. Wait, what is an apostrophe? It's not an alphanumeric character. It's a punctuation mark. And actually, I already had a sentence with an apostrophe earlier. There's something sweet, almost kind. Right, I missed that. Honestly, it's a bit disappointing. With my bachelor's degree in linguistics, I'm starting to forget the basics. Anyway, let's continue. By the way, let me say a few words about the program I'm using right now. Actually, there are two programs, Laplanda Player and Laplanda Generator. The one we're currently using, Laplanda Generator, is designed to record a key phrase or question along with up to 10 possible responses. Why 10 responses? Because this program was originally created for a children's interactive toy. Let me show you how it looks on our website. We have a section on our website called Education, and this is how the program can be used. For example, a parent can record phrases for their child, and the toy will use them interactively to communicate. So the parents control what the toy is talking to their child about. The parents choose the topics and may create various libraries for their use. The toy itself can be anything. The main requirement is that it includes a Wi-Fi enabled Bluetooth speaker with a microphone. I've opened our website and here you can see more details about this toy. If you're interested to learn more about it, check out the link in the description below this video. We call this toy Lapa the Happy Rabbit. And as you can see, this same program can also be used for much more advanced and professional purposes. So, what do we have? Brad Pitt has completed his task. He recorded the lines for our animated movie. As a reminder, we are working on a remake of Beauty and the Beast, and we hired 10 actors to choose the best one for voicing our characters. So, Brad recorded his version, his interpretation of the character. Let's assume the other actors also submitted their versions. As we remember, our MES software acts as a link between operations. So once the task is completed, our producer, and we assign Alex as the producer, can review the results and select the actor who fits best. For Alex, we will create a similar task, an operation. I won't go into details here since the process is already clear and follows the same logic as for the actors. When Alex logs into the MES, he will see his assignment to select the best actor out of 10 for the Beauty and the Beast remake. Along with the task, the appropriate application will open. So let's close Laplanda generator, and for Alex, the system will launch Laplanda player. And here it is. I'll also need a microphone and headphones because this application is interactive. Now I begin working as Alex. It's actually not that simple because I'm playing several roles at once. Understanding all the connections in the process is not as easy as it may seem. Now I'll adjust the voice settings to better match the character. I didn't build a very advanced mixer here. I only have basic controls like speed, high and low frequencies, and treble. Are you happy?
I am when I'm with you.
Come dance with me.
I don't know how.
Do you want to have dinner with me?
Yes, please.
Would you like to read together? Would you like to read together?
You do that with me?
You have to trust me.
I do.
You never told me how you became this.
Oh, it's a long
Story, one I'm not proud of. I was selfish, arrogant, and blind to the needs of others. People feared me even before the curse, and I thought that made me strong. Then one night,
a stranger came to my door.
Cold and in need. I turned her away, disgusted by her appearance, only to discover she was an enchantress. She saw straight into
to my heart, and knew it was filled with cruelty. As punishment, she transformed me into this beast. But it wasn't just a spell on my body, it was a mirror of who I truly was inside. She gave me a chance to change, but for the longest time, I didn't believe I could. Now, with you here, I'm beginning to hope again.
You released me. Why? You released me. Why?
Because I love you.
Alright, these settings work for me, or rather for Alex, the producer, even though it seems complicated. Anyway, let's say we're done with applications. As you can see, the possibilities here are practically endless. Each application can serve a completely different purpose, and it's impossible to predict all use cases in advance. There are countless applications, and each company will have its own set. Today, I showed how our MES software can be used not only for manufacturing physical products, but also in a creative environment, like a film studio. And honestly, managing a large group of creative people is often more challenging than managing production workers. You know what I mean. But with our system, we can bring structure, discipline, and clear boundaries even into a creative workflow. So we can consider that we've covered operations and applications in our MES. There are still more functions to explore, but we'll get to those next time. Now we transfer Brad's completed task to Alex for review. We fill in the required fields and send it off to Alex. And now, as I promised in the previous episode, I'll respond to some questions and comments. Most of the comments are actually about the topic itself. People don't really understand what this is, what we're doing, why we're doing it, and why we're working in this IDE. One of the recent comments says the following. In your lesson, you say, "Our program, LoveView," and then the person asks, What do you mean by our? You are not an employee or representative of National Instruments, are you? I replied to this comment, and I think my answer may be useful for everyone watching this episode. Programming is constantly evolving. New forms, new development environments, new approaches appear over time. No one really knows what programming will look like in 100 years, but we can imagine that it might not even be called programming anymore. Creating machine code will likely happen directly from human language, and the process may be called something like design, assembly, or something entirely different. Why do we love LabVIEW, and why do we call it our program? Because it is very likely one of the strongest candidates for breakthrough technology in this direction. LabVIEW continues to capture more and more of the programming space, with new capabilities constantly being added. It's hard to find another programming environment that evolves at such a rapid pace. Today, there is hardly a manufacturer of measurement or testing equipment that doesn't provide LabVIEW drivers. And there is virtually no industry where LabVIEW isn't used in some form. If we generalize, can LabVIEW even be called a programming language? It's more of a method, a philosophy, an architectural tool, a building material, anything but just programming. The concept of programming feels too narrow for what LabVIEW represents. LabVIEW is a way to transform the real world into a virtual one by thinking and creating. That's why we love it and consider it ours. As for its applications and how it integrates into different areas of life, that's exactly what this channel is about. And of course, it's impossible to cover such a vast topic in one episode. And one more question from the comments that will likely interest those of you who never used LabVIEW before and would like to try it out. The question was how to get this software, how much does it cost to try it out. You can actually try LabVIEW for free. To do that, you just need to download the installation package and install it on your computer. The trial period is 7 days, but if you create an account with National Instruments, you can extend the trial up to 45 days. This applies to the full professional version. There is also a home student edition, a simplified version intended for learning and personal use, and it's free. Next time, we'll focus more on the backend, the architecture and logic, and take a closer look at how some MES cases are built at the programming level. And that's all I've got for today. Thank you for joining Laplanda Tech. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. If you learned something new today, give this video a like and subscribe to learn more from upcoming episodes.